Alrighty, so we are going to invite Robert Carr to talk about the Encinitas Green Building Ordinance. I'm sure that Robert will go into detail about this, but it has been a fantastic coalition, a wonderful effort among many, many groups of people to really kick off this implementation and process. So Robert, if you would like to share your screen, if there's anything like a presentation that you want to show us, you should have access. Perfect. It looks like that's working out really well. And I'm going to spotlight you, Robert. Great. And when you would like to start, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and we'll be excited to hear you.
All right, great. Well, it's great to see everyone. Thank you again for the opportunity to present to you. I'm going to be talking about something that's been going on in the works for the past 2 years, and that is the success that Encinitas was able to pass a green building ordinance that was all about building electrification, and it being the 50th city and so forth. So hold on, let me see here. All right, good. So real quick, before I get into that, I just want to kind of talk about really high level what building electrification is. Essentially, it's replacing every appliance in a building that uses natural gas with an electric alternative. So for the most part, that means space heating, water heating, and cooking, and then there's clothes drying and so forth. So usually that involves heat pump technology. So most AC units use natural gas to create the heat needed to blow into the air. The heat pumps actually just use the energy that's already in the ambient air and transfers it from one place to the other. So usually it's from the outside to the inside. And then with heat pump water heaters, it's the same thing. It's just there's natural energy in the air, the ambient air, whether it's cold or not, there's still energy there. And it transfers it to the water, and it's all electric. So the point of this is that if we electrify all our buildings, and our grid gets to be close to 100% or 100% renewable or carbon free, then the operations of buildings is essentially carbon free. So that is the goal. That is the long-term thinking, and so that's why we're so fired up about building electrification, because we can't reach our climate goals without it. So every year, a little more context, every 3 years, the California Energy Commission creates a new set of building codes, usually more stringent than the last, usually concentrating on energy efficiency. There's been lots of work to try to make these codes actually mandate all electric, be all electric codes. And so unfortunately, it's not happening fast enough. So what municipalities are doing are they're creating reach codes that go beyond the current Title 24 energy codes, and those have to be approved by the CEC. There's certain things you have to do, and so in 2019, Berkeley, California became the first city to enact a reach code, and basically a gas ban on all new construction. That's pretty much what people are working on. They want to stop any new gas infrastructure from being installed into buildings. And then after that, then it's the much harder job of basically retrofitting buildings that have gas into all electric. But so they were the first ones to do that. So around the time that Berkeley was doing this, about 2 years ago, one of the SD 350 members and SDBEC members, Jim Wang, started using his role as on the Energy Commission to start to get people thinking about gas bans and building electrification. So when he first tried this, he got a lot of pushback from Labor and SDG&E, and it was quite strong, and they literally didn't move forward with it. He just didn't have the votes or whatever he needed, the political clout he needed to get that moving forward. However, he pivoted, and the group of people who worked with pivoted to try to get building electrification in their CAP update, in 2022 CAP update, which they were successful, and there really was no opposition. So, and then kind of in parallel, they also passed a climate emergency. So they had a really good foundation for trying to bring back the electrification piece when it was more kind of politically feasible. And so In 2021, the staff started working on their green building ordinance, which had some pretty good building electrification mandates in it. However, there were about 6 different exemptions that really kind of weakened it. Like, for instance, saying that accessory dwelling units needed to have gas to them, that for no reason. It didn't make any sense. They wanted to exempt gas stoves, so you wouldn't have to put induction stoves in there. They felt that that multifamily housing, you couldn't feasibly do hot water heating with electric heat pumps and so forth. And these are all the people that were fighting it and telling staff to put these exemptions in. And so once that was kind of that draft came out, you know, the SDBC members started meeting with council members and kind of really explaining to what BE is and why it's so important, and why we have to do this to decarbonize buildings. And then when they gave out the draft with all those exemptions, we again reached out and said, hey, you know, this is not strong enough. You need these exemptions don't make any sense, and kind of gave the reasoning behind it. Like, for instance, with ADUs, they're perfect for electrification, because you know, mini splits, you only need 1 mini split to, you know, to condition that space. You need a small water heater. So you know, and they listened, and so they did some more outreach, talked to some more stakeholders. And then we also wrote letters to the council members. We also got the press kind of thinking about it. So there was a little bit of pressure we were putting on to have them kind of reconsider what they did. So in August 18th, they submitted the first draft, and Mayor Blakespear basically, you know, from the get-go just said, these aren't strong enough. There's too many exemptions. We need to get rid of these. She was supported by Councilmember Mosca, and they directed staff to basically to remove as many of these exemptions as possible and make it stronger. And that was unanimously voted to do that. And then a month later, they had to kind of repeat the process since they had made changes. They reintroduced it, but it was pretty much well understood that everyone was in support of it. They got rid of all the major exemptions except for 2 small ones. The SDBC with Climate Action Campaign and Climate Habit Solutions, and even Jack, we created a press conference for the mayor and council members to basically kind of promote what they were going to vote on and why it's so important. It was a really good success. We had press out there from TV and from print, got some great quotes. And just to kind of put that in perspective and go back, on the first one, August 22nd, we had very little press coverage, and we redoubled our efforts and really kind of get out there. And so we were really proud to kind of, you know, just to get that extra coverage. And so after that press conference, they unanimously approved it, and they became the 50th city in the state to approve a building electrification ordinance. And you know, pretty soon other cities like Solana Beach and City of San Diego, La Mesa, Chula Vista are starting to think about how they're going to get theirs going, because once one gets approved, they all want to kind of, it gets the ball rolling. So that's what we're hoping anyway. And then finally, like I said, the first time they introduced it, we didn't really get much press coverage. We did get Coast News wrote a great article, and the Voice of San Diego wrote a great article, but you know, that doesn't reach everyone in San Diego. But when they passed it for the second time, we were on the front page of the Union Tribune. That's huge. So a lot of hard work went out. I mean, everybody in their coalition went out and did a lot of hard work to make this happen, and really kind of put that ordinance on the front page. So you know, starting with Jack Wang in 2019, all the way up to, you know, just now, you know, there's a lot of hard work, and we continue to do the hard work to get other cities going. So that's what I've got, and be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Don't stop sharing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert. That's an incredible overlook of the great work that you and your coalition partners did. It's really, really incredible to think that Encinitas is the very first city in the county of San Diego to address this issue, and it makes me very jealous. I wish I lived in Encinitas, but I'm hoping that those other cities that you mentioned, so the city of San Diego, La Mesa, Solana Beach, they will start implementing and really pressure other cities to follow suit.
Yeah, I mean, they're all in various stages of kind of researching it. I think you know, Solana Beach is the closest one. They were about to introduce something and then they kind of repealed it because it wasn't quite strong enough, and they were getting some pushback. But so I mean, hopefully this kind of accelerates that momentum. And we'll be hearing more about BE from City of San Diego coming soon once their draft cap comes out this month, and hopefully there's a lot of BE stuff in there.
That's fantastic. Now we've got Roberta, you raised your hand, so you can go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Robert your question.
Yeah, thank you. My question is just, does this apply only to buildings that serve either business purposes or multifamily housing, or does it also include individual homes?
It's all new construction for residential, multifamily, and commercial. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. That's an important distinction. I appreciate that question. If anyone else wants to put a question in the chat or raise your hand and actually say the question by unmuting yourself, you are welcome to do that.
Well, if there isn't one, the one thing I'd like to say at the very end is that we're always looking for new volunteers. I know ST350 is looking for new volunteers. There's lots of work that I'll be here. So if any of this kind of piqued your interest, our meetings are go to the website and see when our next meeting is. But yeah, so always can use.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that plug. Really, they're an amazing group of people. I've just been so honored to get to know the folks over there, and Robert has just been an incredible force. Always happy to share information and update us on the work. I know that there is a question in the chat for you.
Gail had it, right?
Yes.
Is that Gail? Yeah.
I believe so.
So what were the exemptions? So let me go, I think it's in the slide behind here. Go back here. All right. So basically they said that these homes could have gas stoves, barbecue pits, fire pits, and pool heaters. All right, they could all be natural gas. So I mean, a lot of the thought was is if you're going to force them to do, heat pump water heaters and space heating, which is going to be electric, why would you do all this infrastructure just so you could have a barbecue pit? That didn't make any sense. So that was pretty hard. That was a pretty easy little fight. ADUs, so accessory dwelling units, could have gas to them, and that was the one we kind of shook our head the most on. It's just like it's perfect for all electrification. Is ADUs. Multifamily water housing. There was developers that felt that it was just too difficult to heat water in volume that they needed with heat pump technology, which there's lots of examples, even here in San Diego, of multifamily housing having no problems with heat pump water heaters. And then the restaurant waiver for business need, I think that actually might have stuck. I need to double check on that. And then emergency buildings and rare infrastructure cases. So like, labs, they needed a Bunsen burner or something like that, they could keep it. So those are the exemptions that they have.
Great. Thank you for providing that overview, Robert. I do have a couple of questions for you before we move on. And again, folks, remember to put your questions in the chat. If we don't get to them now, I'm sure we could get to them later. One of the questions that I have for you, Robert, I know that this is primarily for new construction, but is there a way to advocate for existing buildings to change from gas to electric? And that sounds kind of messy, but is that a possibility?
Oh, it's definitely something that we talk about a lot. It's just that we made a strategic decision, to start with new construction because it's easiest to advocate, because it's very clear that these buildings are cheaper to operate and to build, and to stop the infrastructure from being put in. And then once you do that, then the much harder job of basically going into the building stock, which most of the buildings we live and work in are existing buildings. So there's going to require lots more money, lots more cooperation, statewide, citywide, with and all the funding. Where are you going to get the funding from? Because you're talking about EJ things. Well, how are these people in environmental justice, communities concerned? power that, because it's expensive. I mean, you have to upgrade your electrical panel, you have to replace appliances with possibly more expensive appliances with appliances that may already still work. So, and how do you incentivize these people to do that? So that's really, trust me, there's conversations going on constantly about it, and there's different points of view. There's webinars all over it. So if you ever see one about kind of electrifying existing buildings, definitely look at it, because it's really eye-opening about what the challenges are. I mean, I know we'd like to have it happen tomorrow, but I think that's going to be the real challenge. And so, yeah, so it's definitely on everyone's radar. It's just, we got to do this one first, get everyone used to it, get people used to installing heat pump water heaters in buildings, and realize that it's great, and then you scale it. And that's really what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Robert. That's a really great point. I'm glad that you mentioned the justice component and just how expensive it is to rewire a building's infrastructure. So I'm glad that these are conversations that are already happening, and hopefully with more pressure on our elected officials, we'll have the money to maybe make those changes one day. Bev has another question for you if you have time, Robert. This is just such an interesting topic. If you want to read it out loud in the chat and then answer it, that would be great.
Okay, so would you want to pitch this success as, how do you get your city to go electric to a widely distributed source like newspaper or magazine? I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think you consider Encinitas a case study for, at least for our part of the state. Northern California, they're pretty well versed in this. I mean, like every major city is either electrified or going to electrify. It's really, it's kind of how it works. It just kind of slowly kind of works its way down the state. So I think absolutely we would definitely pitch this as how to do that. Now, if we have press doing that as well, obviously getting the word out is, it's great, just because when it starts to come, maybe say to the city of San Diego, and the average citizen at least understands what building electrification is and understands why it's important because of press and stories like that. Yeah, is that the answer? Is that the question you had, or did I answer your question?
Well, I was wondering about even getting this to the East Coast, where they aren't as up on all of these things, or the South. Some of my relatives are, and they don't seem to understand this the way California does.
Yeah, I mean, I know that, the Union Tribune articles get picked up. Like, for instance, there was a story in the New York Times that my dad had about our water, basically how San Diego has more water than most. I mean, obviously it's not electrification, but it does get picked up. I think that would take some contacts there, in the press out east, and I don't think we have those just yet. I think maybe the reporters that we work with here locally do, and so maybe that's a conversation we have with them. But we're just trying to get them to cover us right now. And I think as we get more success, I think we might be able to kind of see if we can, kind of amplify that message across the country. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Robert, for answering all of those great questions. Again, folks, if you're interested in getting involved, you can contact Robert. You can also go to their website, which I believe we can put in the chat for you. It's the San Diego Building Electrification Coalition. They've got a lot of great resources. They send out a newsletter that I follow, and they give you some really great updates. So that's good. We are running a little bit behind schedule, but I think it's important for us to make space to answer these questions, especially since you're all so interested in it. Now we're going to pivot over to another topic. So just give me one moment and I'll be able to share my screen and share the recording. So. All right, so hopefully you can see my desktop. And on that desktop, can you see this video? I got a thumbs up from Maddie T, so thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to play this video for you. We'll be checking to make sure that you can also hear it well. But it is a video from Heidi, who works with the city of San Diego. And the city of San Diego has recently developed a adaptation or resiliency plan. And this plan is a great way for the city itself to talk about how they can mitigate the impacts of climate change in the city of San Diego. So it's another way for you to get involved and address the impacts directly affecting our many communities in the San Diego County region. So I'm going to play this, and Heidi's going to introduce this concept and give you a few ways on how you can get involved. So I'll make it full screen. Oh, here I thought I was making it full screen, and then it just.
Good evening, everyone. I am Heidi Von Blum, Deputy Director in the City of San Diego's Planning Department. Thank you very much for allowing me to virtually share with you about one of the many exciting initiatives that we are working on in the Planning Department, our Climate Resiliency Plan, or Climate Resilient SD. I'm excited to share with you that this plan is available for you to review now on our website at www.sandiego.gov/resiliency. You may be first wondering what a climate resiliency plan is, and that is a very good question. Climate Resilient SD is a people-centered plan focused on improving the lives of all San Diegans while ensuring that we and our city are ready for climate change. We can be ready for climate change while investing in our public spaces with more shade and cooler streets and buildings, and expanding natural habitats, which also provide recreational and educational opportunities. We want to hear from people like you on how we can make this plan even better, so that we ensure that we plan for a climate resilient city that best improves your lives and prepares you for climate change. We want to make this easy for you to learn about this plan and to give us suggestions. You can email us, send us mail, or you can use a new tool online called Conveo. This is a live interactive way to comment on our plan. All of this information is available on our website, again, at www.sandiego.gov/resiliency. We are planning to bring Climate Resilient SD through the hearing process beginning in November, and we would also love to have you participate in that process as well. Please go to our website and register for updates so we can be sure to alert you on upcoming hearing dates. And please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you, and hope to hear your feedback on our plan soon.
All right. Oh my gosh. So Heidi is amazing. I recently met them, and Heidi is so passionate about this work, and fortunately works with a lot of amazing people at the city of San Diego who are implementing this resiliency plan. We thought it would be a great opportunity to introduce you to this plan, because we know that not all of you live in the city of San Diego, but because the city of San Diego is so large, oftentimes if things go well and a progressive climate action is implemented in the city of San Diego, it tends to affect the surrounding cities and the region as a whole. So even if you don't live in the city of San Diego, you can still advocate for these changes happening there, because they will ultimately positively affect our entire region. And again, this is all about how we can locally impact climate change and mitigate those climate change effects. So really quickly, I'm going to share my screen and ask you all to do a bit of a call to action while we're on the call together. So this is an opportunity for you to go to the website that Heidi spoke of. So you'll see on the screen that it's sandiego.gov/sustainability/resilience. And this is where they basically outline what this draft plan looks like. And it is also how you will navigate your way to interact with the plan and integrate any of your comments and feedback with the plan. So on the right-hand side, if you all could subscribe now, especially if you want to get involved and do what you can, your perspective is really important and they want community feedback. I spoke with Heidi, and Heidi shared that sometimes you get about 20 voices sharing feedback, and because they're the loudest and the most common voices, that is those are the voices that impact the plans. And as we all know, there are far more than just 20 voices that need to contribute, so that we have a variety of perspectives being considered when developing a plan that's going to impact many people's lives. So please subscribe now. That way you can receive updates about the plan. And also to let you know that this tool, the tool that they are using, this platform, it is similar to Facebook, similar to like a social media platform, where you can read the plan and you can highlight and comment, or much of like I think you can do on a Google Doc. So you can in real time give your feedback and provide suggestions. And again, this is a really great opportunity for you to be critical and also think about those justice and social justice aspects, so that we again are implementing a variety of perspectives. So they want your help, and this is just one way for you to get involved and help. Now I saw that there's some activity in the chat, so I don't know if Liz Davis or Maddie M wants to address that. If it's a question, I can try to answer it. I just I don't have access to the chat right now.
Oh, it's just Justin saying that he's needing to head out, but saying thank you so much for coordinating the meeting.
Put you on blast, Justin. Thank you so much. You have a great night. Okay, well, I'll stop sharing my screen. I just wanted you to all see what the website looks like so that you can begin getting familiar with it. And finally, I am so fascinated with all the different ways that we can be really intentional and really creative about how we address our infrastructure, how we try to be more green and I think proactive in regards to climate and our just human impact on the environment, because we know that you know, frontline communities and communities of color are disproportionately impacted by all the climate things, especially climate impacts. There are various impacts that will be addressed in the resiliency plan, and one of them is heat. So we didn't get a chance to dive deeply into a discussion about heat and how dangerous it is. We hope to do that at another talk, but I did want to just highlight the importance of addressing heat, and how frequently people's lives are lost because of rising temperatures. And one way to combat this is actually to plant more trees. That is certainly not going to solve all of our heat issues, but Heidi shared that by including more green spaces and canopy cover, you can greatly reduce the temperature of a neighborhood. And if you are in a city and one street has dense canopy cover, the temperature might be 20 degrees cooler, actually up to 20 whole degrees cooler than a street that is maybe next to it or a few streets over without any canopy cover. So these are the sorts of things we want to think about, being really intentional when we move forward and advocate for climate policy. So thanks for listening to me. I'll get off of my soapbox, and now I will hand it over to our next presenter, who is the let's see, the amazing Katie, who's our campaign coordinator. There's a lot happening in the county, and Katie's gonna share just a little bit about the decarbonization framework and all the really cool things that you have access to in regards to addressing that. So Katie, when you're ready, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Meyer. I am the campaign coordinator. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the regional decarbonization framework, which is this really exciting initiative that the county is doing to address the climate crisis. So what is the regional decarbonization framework? So the county right now is seeking to reach the goal of 0 carbon emissions in San Diego County by 2035. So that's really, really exciting. And I will also just share that for a long time, the Board of Supervisors in San Diego County used to be people that do not care about climate, but recently with this last election, we have had a complete shift in the dynamics of this board. So that has allowed the county to pass really progressive policies like this to actually combat our climate crisis. So this is really exciting. So the goal is 0 carbon emissions by 2035. And how it's going to actually work to achieve this is by working across different sectors, because no one government entity can actually try and reach this goal and succeed. It has to be across many sectors. So looking at working with the cities in San Diego County, working with businesses, universities, government agencies like SANDAG, which is San Diego's regional planning agency responsible for a lot of the transportation issues, MTS, the Port of San Diego, and also labor groups. And they are utilizing UCSD consultants and USD consultants to really make sure that this is data driven. So the Board of Supervisors voted to pass this and that and allow staff to go to the place where they are drafting what this framework is actually going to look like. So right now they're currently in the process of actually drafting this. So what is the basis of this framework? So first is to just reduce carbon emissions in the many sectors that they appear. Second is reduce super pollutants that are toxic to human health. So that involves a lot of the pollution that is happening, especially in environmental justice communities. And then also looking into nature-based reduction of emissions. So things like carbon farming, carbon capture. So these are the 3 main strategies that the county is laying out for how they will actually achieve 0 carbon by 2035. So why does this framework matter? Why is it significant for that San Diego is actually doing this? So really, not that many cities have put forward a regional decarbonization framework, let alone counties. So San Diego has the potential to be the first county in the nation to come up with a strong framework. So this framework really has the potential to be a model for other counties throughout the country to really use when taking climate action. And this framework also encompasses a lot of the regional collaboration that we need to address the climate crisis, because it is not going to be any one city government or county government that is going to be able to put forward policy on the scale that we need. So it's a lot of working with entities like MTS, who is responsible for a lot of San Diego's transportation system, or a SANDAG, or a lot of businesses that do cause a lot of emissions in San Diego. And then finally, this is really important, and I know we all know this as people that are on this call, but I think it is always important that we have this reminder, is that we are running out of time to take action. We are already feeling many of the effects throughout the country. We are experiencing worse fires. We are experiencing worse droughts. People in California are literally dropping dead because of extreme heat. The climate crisis is not some far distant thing, but it is something that is happening now, and it is currently affecting people's lives. And we need to take bold action right now. We cannot wait until 2035 or beyond to have emissions where they need to be. So this is the timeline of what the framework is going to be looking like. So you can see that there have been, the board gave the direction for the county staff to move forward with this framework. And there has been a public workshop, which I know some of you actually attended, to give input on what we want this framework to look like. And then in November, they are going to actually put out a draft of this framework for us to give feedback on. So right now we're really in the phase where we are telling them what we want this framework to look like and what we want this framework to actually prioritize. So after they put the draft out, they are going to vote on it in February, and they'll also have a series of public workshops where you can actually weigh in on what they proposed. So what do we want in this framework? So because this is such a broad thing, we do have some specific asks. So one of them is, and I think this is the most important one, is we want to make sure the county actually stays true to its goal, and actually is specific on how it will reach zero carbon by 2035. And that is a really ambitious goal, and it is critical to make sure that the county's actions in this framework are not just words. It is not just like passing a resolution that says like, we want to take action on this, because that is not the same thing as action. So we want the county to actually explain, how will it do this? That's really, really important. And in terms of the specifics, we want to make sure that they address transportation-based emissions. So transportation is nearly 50% of emissions in San Diego. And that is a lot because we overly depend on private vehicles, because our housing, there is a lot of sprawl that happens. So that is building housing in areas that are far away from transit, far away from jobs, and far away from a lot of the services that people need. So that causes people to drive long distances. So we want them to address transportation and also stop sprawl development. Also, it's crucial that this centers equity and has meaningful outreach to take action on these environmental issues or environmental justice issues. So that's really critical, is a lot of the worst impacts will be felt by environmental justice communities. So it's really important that this framework actually engages them. Mandate new construction and major renovations of buildings be all electric incentivize retrofits. So I'm not going to go into that one. Robert just explained all about building electrification in the last presentation. But I am going to touch on good union jobs, prioritizing communities of concern for working class people of color as we transition to zero carbon. And this brings up a lot of issues related to jobs is as we move towards green technology, that is going to displace a lot of people. So it's really important that we take that lens in when we move towards policy, because there is a lot of potential for good green jobs. And we want to make sure those are good union jobs. So it's really important to emphasize a just transition. And then finally, this needs to be a truly collaborative effort. The county can only do so much. The county's jurisdiction is technically only the unincorporated areas. So it's really limited in what the county can do if it doesn't work with cities, if it doesn't work with the Port of San Diego, if it doesn't work with MTS, schools, and other stakeholders. And then here's how you can get involved. So we can really use help in telling the county what we want this framework to actually look like. And there are two ways that you can actually do them, and I'm going to put 2 links in the chat right now. The first one is you can email your comments relating to what you want this framework to actually look like to the email address I put on the screen. And in the chat, there is a toolkit for that outlines all of the things I just went over and how you can actually weigh in. And then the other thing is you can attend the County Board of Supervisors meeting that is happening on Wednesday, November 17th, in person or by phone, or submit any comment. So that is the meeting that they will be unveiling the draft plan that we will be able to give feedback on and reinforce what we want to see in this framework. So thank you all so much for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
Wow, Katie, that is incredible. You did a wonderful job covering this topic. You definitely know your stuff. So thank you for doing such a fantastic job. And thank you for, not just focusing on the problem, for focusing on the solutions. And I think that's what we really wanted to highlight in today's meeting, is that we actually all can contribute to addressing these problems with solutions. So please, folks, get involved and utilize that toolkit. But if we have any lingering questions, you can put them in the chat. Katie and also Anne Sheridan on the call would be happy to answer. Maybe they can take one question. Otherwise, we can answer them as a follow-up. Well, Katie, I think that means you did such a good job on your presentation that no one has any questions. So you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen if you will. And we'll move on to our next wonderful speaker. But folks, if you have questions, it looks like some resources were just put in the chat by Anne, and you can always email Katie for further questions. So Katie, if you want to put your email address in the chat as a resource, that would be useful. So we are going to move on to celebrating and highlighting Indigenous Peoples Month. So Maddie T is going to take the mic and talk a little bit about why this day is so important and how you can support Indigenous communities.
Yeah, am I able to share that video I shared with you?
Yeah, you can go ahead and share. How long is it?
I think it's only like a 3-minute video.
Okay, yeah, definitely. You should have access to share.
Let me see. Let's get the video up. Yeah, it's only 3 minutes. Okay, perfect. Oh, I see. Can y'all see it?
Yes.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
I'm Angela Mooney, DRC. I'm from the Hashiman Nation, Wanenu Mission Indians. Our territory is in what's now known as Orange County. Most of the area is shared territory with the Tongva Nation. I founded the Sacred Places Institute for Indigenous Peoples in 2012. Our mission is to build the capacity of Native nations and Indigenous peoples to protect sacred lands, waters, and cultures. For my nation and for the Tongva people, very few of our sacred sites remain intact. And so places that other folks call open space, for us, those are some of the last places where we can engage in our traditional cultural practices. People don't realize that we are struggling to maintain our cultural survival and live in a traditional way. And that really involves connecting to the land. Banning Ranch is also known as the village of Ganga. So it's a village site that was a shared village between the Tonga and Hashiman peoples. It's several thousand years old, is listed on the Sacred Lands Inventory. There are also well-documented archaeological sites on the area. And so it's a very significant area from a historical perspective, from a cultural perspective, obviously from an environmental perspective. And then again, just because it's one of the few remaining areas of open space in our territory. There are many state and federal laws that come into play regarding consultation with Native nations, particularly when there are known archaeological or cultural sites or sites of spiritual and religious significance. As far as we've been able to ascertain, the developer has not met its legal burden in terms of consulting with Native nations. Developers have to be in compliance with the law. They're not above state and federal law and mandates. The outcome we would desire is that the Coastal Commission do what it should do, which is say that the developer can't move forward with this project and that no permit can be granted unless and until they've met their burdens in terms of tribal consultation laws. The land is just little by little, it's disappearing. It's being developed, paved over. Banning Ranch is an example where you have a chance to prevent that from happening. There's been a tremendous erasure in the public consciousness of our people. And so for our perspective from Sacred Places Institute, one of the best things people can do is to learn about the history of this place before there was any contact with folks from Western Europe, to learn about the Native nations who are from here, and to support us when we say that an area is important, when we say that we need access to these spaces to engage in our cultural practices, to support us in those things.
I do want to, sorry, I forgot to mention this video is a bit old, and I am not sure how much y'all know more than I do when it comes to like California and Native issues, but I've just recently moved here and found out a lot, and honestly it's so shocking to me to learn about missions being from the East Coast, not even knowing they existed. So this is all new to me, but I just think it's really important that we donate to organizations like Sacred Spaces. They are all about sustainability, not charity, I think, or like community, not charity. Like this is where it's a mutual thing, and they have sponsored people to go to Line 3, and they're just I had looked into a few different orgs, and this looks like it's local. It's and if you can donate, yes, solidarity. Thank you, solidarity, not charity. And I looked into donating on Facebook and their website. It's kind of weird. I think I'm just gonna call and donate, and I encourage y'all to do the same. I just think Indigenous people know how to take care and steward the land the best, and if that's just my personal politics, and I think to celebrate Indigenous people, the best thing to do is to support them financially so they can keep protecting our land and our water as they have been. So you can find it at Sacred Spaces. I'm gonna drop the link to the website, and then so you can call just call old school.
Thank you so
for-
much, Maddie.
Thank you.
Please do share that link in the chat. And thank you so much for highlighting the importance of these communities. It's really, I think it's really impactful for you to have recently learned about missions being new to California and how normalized that practice of colonization is in California history, and how it is a part of our educational curriculum, but it's not explored with a justice lens usually. So thank you so much for highlighting the importance of this issue. And please do feel free, if you have the means, to donate and support Indigenous communities. Now, thank you all so much. We're going to end by highlighting another wonderful volunteer. Our volunteer of the month is Alyssa Kane, and I'm actually going to spotlight you. I hope it's okay, Alyssa. I'm gonna have everyone know who you are. Yes, you have that wonderful dresser behind you. We've got several people clapping, as they should. Alyssa is amazing. I have really enjoyed getting to know Alyssa over the past few months. Alyssa has so many talents and is just a very gregarious, happy-go-lucky and passionate person. And you can really see this in the work that she does and the impact that she has. I'm briefly going to read your bio, if that's okay, on your behalf. And then Alyssa, if you'd like to share a few words, we'd be really happy to hear from you. So it is such an honor to introduce you to Alyssa Kane, who is a volunteer with SD 350 and has been since January 2021. One of her favorite parts of volunteering is working on creative projects with the Raise the Alarm team, like art installations and posters for in-person actions. Alyssa also volunteers with the Surfrider Foundation on their Rise Against Plastics team, working with local restaurants on ways to become more ocean friendly. She works for the San Diego River Foundation, teaching kids about pollution and how their actions can affect the health of the river. She also works as a freelance theatrical scenic designer, creating whimsical worlds for live theater productions around San Diego. Alyssa has always loved the outdoors and enjoys hiking, camping, rock climbing, surfing, and snorkeling. Her time spent in nature serves as a reminder that our climate is a precious resource worth protecting. She thanks the SD 350 family for welcoming her into this caring community and appreciates the kindness she has received and the friends she has made. Thank you so much, Alyssa.
Thank you, Nicole. You're too kind. Thank you so much, everyone here, for everything that you do for this organization. And I really do feel like this is a family, and I've just felt so welcomed and so accepted. And I really just enjoy so much all the work that I've been able to do and all the people that I've been able to work alongside of. Really made some great friends in this organization, and just so excited to continue to work on awesome projects with awesome people. Also, just thank you so much to everyone who presented today. Robert, Nicole, Katie, Maddie, you guys are awesome. I really enjoyed your presentations, and keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alyssa, and thank you so much for the impact that you've had on our community. You're doing really great work in various places. I'm so excited about your position with the San Diego River Foundation. We're so lucky to have you. And yes, we're so happy to highlight you because you really have made a difference in our community. So thank you all so much. I know we lost a few people over the course of that meeting, but I will say all of our presentations were amazing. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. And if you are newer to the organization, get involved if you're not already, because then you can meet wonderful people just like Alyssa. So yes, I think with that, I will actually stop recording because that is the end of our meeting. But definitely go on our website and check out our upcoming events.